My name is Ndiweteko Jennifer Nghishitende, and I'm a second-year PhD candidate at the Wilberforce Institute, which is part of the University of Hull. So my research is understanding the trajectories of women who have left situations of exploitation falling under the umbrella term of modern slavery in the UK. I'm hoping to understand how they make sense of these experiences when they leave these situations of exploitation. Where do they go? What happens? Do they go through support systems, and how do they experience those support systems? If they don't go through support systems, how do they experience that? And then also, hopefully, if they have gone into independent living completely on their own, how do they make sense of that? Find communities, center themselves into communities, and basically just the process of starting over, really.
And why are you interested in this topic?
Well, my background is in human rights, and previously, before starting my journey here, I worked in the field of human rights of children and women in Namibia, where I'm from, and I've really just developed a keen interest in women's agency, and also just giving voice to not only women but also just generally marginalized communities, which some of the women that have participated, in my research fall under as marginalized voices that really just need to come out. And I'm very privileged to be able to be telling some aspects of their stories.
Can you tell us a few key findings from your research?
Yes, currently I feel like I have so many, but I'll mention just a few. The most important one, obviously, because I'm looking at life after exploitation, the idea that comes to mind instantly is that, it's now life into freedom, but how this freedom is understood is very different. Freedom itself as a concept has been debated in so many aspects, but it's quite important to understand it in terms of how the people we are trying to understand it and define it for themselves. That being said, there is a tendency within the modern slavery field to think that once a person has left a situation of exploitation, they are instantly moving into a situation of freedom. In terms of the person will have support waiting for them, they will have accommodation, or they will be given a sort of whatever it is that they may need. But unfortunately, what I've found from the women that I've spoken to, as well as the practitioners that I've also spoken to, is that this is just not the case. It is a constant, freedom is a constant struggle for survivors. Some of the women have even compared it to moving from one prison to another prison, just a different one. And these are not my words. I'm borrowing this from the participants. The second most important one, I feel, is the theme of motherhood. This has just been ignored, invisibilized throughout the modern slavery policy, as well as also the support systems that are in place do not really give enough attention or holistic attention to motherhood. And also, for instance, the way mothers with children in their care or pregnant women are supported is not really congruent, or does not really speak to what they feel they need support in. The third one that I'll mention today would be since I've spoken about support quite a lot, is also just how this support manifests, and mostly for the women, and which aspects of support they deem really important. And one of these is informal support. So this is informal support in terms of communities, friends, the few friends that some women are able to make, communities of faith-based communities, so churches and mosques and so forth, as well as peer support in terms of survivors themselves, especially through groups that are organized by organizations out there that work with survivors in the UK.
How does the theme of displacement play out in your research?
Wow, in terms of really human trafficking, displacement is a very prominent theme. The majority of the women that I have spoken to have actually come elsewhere. I've only spoken to 2 women that are from the UK. Everybody else has come from somewhere else, and this was during the time of their exploitation. And then even after leaving the situations, you'll see that women are still moved around all the time within cities here in the UK, or from city to city within the UK. And this does not only happen during exploitation, it's also important to note that it also happens after the women leave the situation. So even especially when they are in support systems such as the NRM, for instance, because of the precarity surrounding accommodation, women are always just on the constant move. And also sometimes, of course, if a woman has been exploited in a specific city, starting over may need to happen somewhere else, in another city, or maybe just in another country.